Hello Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you the August cherry box and my creations, or one of my creations. So this is one of two layouts that I'm sharing over on the A Cherry on Top blog. So it is a subscription box, but you can get one-offs if one-offs are available. Along with the kit this month is going to be some 49 and Market, some of the vintage collection, and this is repositionable 4-inch fabric tape. I've never worked with this before, and it was actually really cool. So in my unboxing I tried ripping it, and you can absolutely rip it, and I'm going to rip it in my second layout to create little strips, kind of like washi strips. But know that this is a little bit different than washi. It is thicker, and the fibers hold together differently than washi does. So I'm using it to create a border on the right hand side. This is a very neutral collection. There's a lot of cream, a lot of ivory, and then you get these shots of the dark green like you can see in the cardstock over there. There's also the green in the embellishments as well. So with the kit you are going to get a selection of patterned papers, those laser cuts. This is washi, so this is an actual sheet of washi, and then on the reverse side there are some shapes that are die cut, but they're not actually die cut, you have to cut them. And so I'm using part of the washi here to create a corner. I have learned that the secret to vintage collections is you have to layer. You have to do lots and lots of layering, and it doesn't have to be obvious. Like, so your stamping can just be subtle, and it's more for color and layer and depth than it really is about actually being able to read what it is that you've stamped or see visually. It's more the impression of it. So I want to add a little bit more green to this. So I've broken out my watercolor inks here, and I'm going to just mix up some colors, different shades of green, in order to get a little bit of green at the bottom here. So I am going to tell you that off camera, so you'll see it actually coming up, that giant black blob to the left of the leaves there, it ends up actually being very visually distracting because it is a very dark contrast to everything else that is on the page. And so I am actually going to tear off more of that corner there, but I don't actually tear off enough as I'm tearing off. And so I will actually off camera get rid of all of that black blob that is in there, that rectangle. So I'm using some of the leftover watercolor here, and I'm trying to get some splotches on the page. You've already got that distressed feel in the page, but I just wanted to add a little bit more green to that. I end up covering most of it anyway, but you do see a little bit of that green, and it just pulls everything together there. So I'm going to set that aside and let that dry, and then go ahead and start creating on that palette that I have created there. So these photos are photos of my husband and I, actually on the 4th of July at Lewis Ginter, which is what our botanical garden here in Richmond. We used to be members. It's what I call my happy place, my heaven on earth. It's just absolutely beautiful there. And the colors in these photos are actually much brighter, right? The yellow and the purple of the purple echinacea are actually true purples. But in order to work with this collection, I kind of had to fade out the color a lot in order to make this work with the collection. And I have the photos printed in the brighter colors, which I could use, but I know the colors, and I'm not worried. It's more about the storytelling with the beauty of the garden than it is having to stick to necessarily the quote-unquote true colors. So I'm looking here for layers to layer up on the page. You can see I've got the selvage strip from the actual page that I'm using. And I like the way that that pulls a little bit more of sort of a yellowy hue into it. And then I have that laser cut with the lace border, and it's originally ivory or cream. There you go. And I thought maybe the green might be nice to offset the green in the corner on the right hand side, but it ends up being too much, especially given that I want to use those laser cut leaves to just meld in with all of the greenery that's in the photos there. So again, I talked about layering and stamping. So I am just literally adding to the border here, and I don't care whether you can see the numbers or not. I intentionally did an offset stamp and then an original ink stamp, just to add that kind of soft feel to the page to get a little bit more color in it. So you can see I've got 2 photo blocks here. Those are wallet-sized photos, and I have an action in Photoshop that will do that for me. So I edit my photos, and then I go ahead and add them in and then print them on a 4x6. So those are 2 4x6s that are overlapping a little bit. And now what I'm looking for are just layers, because there's still a lot of contrast. There's still a lot of dark in those 2 4x6s where the photos are, and I want to sort of blend that in to the ivory and the lighter backgrounds that I've got there. So I've cut up one of the, not cut up, but I fussy cut around one of the flowers, and so I'm going to put that in one of these corners up here. Also with the kit, you're going to get one of 3 options of stamps. And so this just happens to be the 49th and Market stamp set that I got. So it's got a couple of phrases, a couple of flowers, a camera, and a centimeter and an inch ruler. And so I'm going to use that to stamp in some design. So what I missed being able to tell you there is you can stamp directly on that, but with the Distress ink pad that comes, if you add water to it, can you see how it actually, it popped it off the page? It blended it, but it also changed the color to actually a darker color on the page. And so I liked the way that that just pulled in a little bit more of the darker hue, the brown, to the top there. And it made that black element a little less, I wanted the contrast, but it made it less singular, standing alone up there by itself. So I'm having a hard time getting the spacing of my photos here. I know I want to use that green laser cut leaves, but I don't want them hanging off the edge of the page, which the way I had arranged the photos, that's exactly what's going to happen. And so in shifting everything over, it actually brought those florals that are on the top right more into the center of the photos, and it also centered the photos in the page, which made me much happier. So the laser cuts are actually pretty they're not thick, but they're high enough off the page. You can see that when I tried to stamp that stamp over there, I wasn't able to get the impression further down into the page. I might have had better luck if I'd been stamping on foam, but it's okay, because again, I'm looking for the stamping for more for color than I am for the actual crisp image here. So using some of that leftover washi, I'm going to add that underneath the photo. Again, just for some visual contrast, blending those photos into the page so that it's not just this dark element followed by the light element. It's almost like you've got the dark and then the gray followed by the light. So I have put that butterfly to kind of cover up one of my stamping errors there. And then I've got this yellow butterfly again for that contrast. And in a way, and so I've created a visual triangle here. So you've got the yellow butterfly and the elements in the top center. Then you come over to the left-hand side of the photos where that title is actually going to be, followed by my journaling, and then you move to that big right corner at the bottom right there. And so that's going to be the movement through the page, through all of the important elements on the page there. So this is a phrase that says, "Not all who wander are lost." You don't really see lost. It gets lost literally in the stamping, but I kind of like that. I liked that gray chipboard piece there too, because it's a horizontal element that sort of breaks up all of the vertical that I've got going on here. So you can see that big black see how I tore it, but it's still got that black that's pretty dominant, and so it was just visually disturbing to me, so I will go ahead and cut that off off camera. So I've got some vintage tags here. Those are not part of the kit. These are from my stash, but that's going to cover up that stamping error that I made there, as well as just give, again, more layering to meld everything into the page there. One of the things that bothered me about that chipboard butterfly is it is white. It's got a white border around it, and everything else is ivory. And I like white on vintage layouts because it gives that crispness that I like in my pages, but what I struggle with here is it's literally the only white element. But then I realized that it goes with my glasses, and so I've got more than one white element in that. I apologize for that beeping. My son is setting up fire smoke detectors in our house, and yeah, I hadn't planned on that, so I apologize. So here's the title. Again, these are from my stash. These are super old Jelly Bean. I believe it's Jelly Bean letters. They have a canvas look to them, and I like the way that it pops the borders on either side of the page, and Rome is literally going to be my title. So also this month you get some epoxy stickers, and I like the way that it has a little bit of shine to it that adds just a little bit of a glimmer to the layout. And so I like that gray butterfly again for the contrast. And that is going to, I'm actually going to move it from that edge over to the right hand side over there because it's a little too distinct sitting on that edge there. There's too much of a contrast shift from dark to light. Because these letter stickers are super old, even though they are stickers, I am using liquid adhesive because I'm not sold that they are going to stay on the page there. So I am going to journal off camera, and I am also actually going to use some of the washi tape and cut out smile and note, and I will put those on the page and you will see those in the close-ups. So it's not too late to subscribe. If you don't already subscribe, you have until the 25th. I'll link you in the description box down below. Enjoy the close-ups. Thanks for coming today. Stop back again soon. I hope you're doing well. Take care.